This is a cherry shrimp, and this is a Ramshorn snail. They live peacefully on my bedside table, but in just 8 weeks their populations have spiraled out of control. Usually they are removed and disposed of, but instead I'm going to create them a beautiful, low-tech and self-sustaining home, powered only by plants, bacteria and sunlight. I've made aquariums without tech before, but to deal with a population of this size, we're going to need a bigger jar. And I landed on this one. It stands at 40 centimeters high, 30 centimeters wide and holds 21 litres of water. This is going to be a mammoth task, so I got to work. First, I had a few good handfuls of aquarium soil in the bottom and mixed in some lava rock to open it up. This is all capped by an inch layer of sand which stops nutrients from leaching into the water column and colonises good bacteria. I wanted to keep the decor simple, so I'm just using this piece of driftwood, and this is a really important step that speeds the whole process up. Water in an aquarium can take weeks to cycle, but by adding a piece of wood from an existing aquarium, all the bacteria in the wood is transferred into the new setup, turning weeks worth of waiting into a few days. A few inches of water goes into the tank before the plants go inside, and this is where the magic happens, and it really is quite incredible. What I'm making is a worsted aquarium, a self-sustaining tank with no filter, no heater, and no CO2 injection, and the secret behind it all lies in the plants. The snails and the shrimp produce waste which feeds beneficial bacteria, and that bacteria breaks the waste down into nutrients that the plants absorb, and in return, the plants grow and help keep the water clean. Meanwhile, the snails and shrimp graze on algae and decaying leaves, completing the cycle. So, with just light, plants and a bit of time, you get a living, breathing ecosystem without the need for any tech. Once the plants have gone in, I filled it up with water from an existing aquarium. But that was not what I was expecting. I left the jar for 24 hours to see if it cleared, but when I came back the next day, it was still the colour of a good cup of tea. So I drained out some of the water, topped it up, placed it by the window and came back the next day to see if it had cleared. And thankfully, I do not have to start again. And because the azalea root was added, the water has stabilised and I can put the first round of snails in. But there is a problem. This spot does not get enough light and the plants won't grow healthily here, so I'm going to take this giant jar home. And this spot in my house is perfect for the shrimp jar. The aquarium is now in its forever home, and to further help the filtration, I'm attaching a floating pot on the rim. I flushed some bonsai soil to get rid of all the dust before placing a peace lily inside. The peace lily will feed off the nutrients in the water and will also help keep the water clean as it grows healthily. Now, I'm not joking when I say that these snails have really gotten out of control, and if I left them in here, they would soon take over. I grabbed as many as I could and dropped them into their new home. And the next day, I grabbed another handful and they went in too. And the day after that, another handful went in. And this got me thinking. A single Ramshorn snail doesn't create much waste and won't affect the water quality, but 50 Ramshorn snails, and that's a different story. And to keep this ecosystem in balance, we need a natural pest control. And this is the assassin snail, a natural predator of the Ramshorn snails, but also an ally of the shrimp who are to come in a short while. A single assassin snail will eat roughly 1 Ramshorn snail each day, and if my calculations are correct, then adding 2 assassin snails into the jar should keep the Ramshorn numbers at a sensible level, and they also have the strangest hunting method. The assassin snail buries itself into the sand and pokes out its siphon, which is this thing here. siphon picks up chemical cues in the water, and when it detects a suitable prey, it launches an attack. But thankfully, this Ramshorn snail will live to see another day. A few weeks have now passed and the giant worsted jar has fully settled. What looks like a simple setup is layered with hidden complexity. Ecosystems within ecosystems. The delicate balance between snails, plants and bacteria has stabilised, creating a crystal clear, near self-sustaining aquarium on a stool in my living room. The assassin snails have begun controlling the Ramshorn populations. The plants are creating oxygen and the snails are controlling algae blossoms. But I'm not quite finished, as this is not going to be just a snail jar. While the red cherry shrimp is the hardiest of all the shrimp, they are sensitive to water changes, but I am prepared for this. I place them into this box and set up a drip acclimatization tube. One end goes into the worsted jar, water is sucked through before a knot is tied controlling the flow to a drop every few seconds. This means it's not such a shock when they go into the worsted tank, and I left this running for about 6 hours. Whenever the tub filled up, I used my egg cup to dish it out, and after 3 rounds of this, the shrimp are ready to go into the ecosystem. Ever since I read Ecology of the Planted Aquarium, I wanted to create a giant worsted jar. The word ecosystem gets bandied around a lot, but I think this is a great representation of the word. The soil is rich in nutrients, enabling the plants to grow healthily and act as a natural biological filter for the water. The snails create waste which feeds the plants, and the shrimps help break that waste down, preventing the water from becoming polluted. The assassin snails act as the apex predator of the aquarium and actually help the shrimp's cleanup process by keeping the Ramshorn snails' populations in check. Everything I just mentioned contributes to keeping the water parameters stable with minimal input from me. Ramshorn snails are seen as pests, and the last thing I ever wanted to do was dispose of them, so creating them an ecosystem in which they can thrive seemed like the right thing to do. I've never been so excited to see an ecosystem develop, and if you want to support the channel, you can subscribe or head over to Patreon, and if you want to see why there are so many of these snails, then you should check out this video.